All right, welcome to a special edition of the Buckeye Bar Guys. I'm Mike.
I'm John.
Um, just wanted to do a quick little show. Today is Sunday. Yesterday was the 19th, Saturday the 19th, and we got the schedule released. So just wanted to. It was during Big Ten noon or Big Noon kickoff on Fox. So we just wanted to do a quick breakdown of the schedule. So, you ready to go, John?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So, we open up on October 24th at home against Nebraska. How do you feel about that? It is a nice little Nebraska kickoff.
Sorry, I just got in from mowing, so if I'm a little sweaty or anything, I apologize. Nebraska, I feel good about. I mean, I'm not overlooking them. I'm seeing a lot of, sorry, you're our best friends now. Sorry for what we got to do to you. Everyone's got to remember, this is still going to be our first game. So I'm a little, I'm not saying I'm concerned about it or anything, but there's no guarantee that we're just going to walk all over these guys. There's still going to be stuff that we're going to have to figure out. There's going to be execution issues. There's always execution issues with the first game. So it's hard getting a quality opponent, number one. Because we've seen that before when we've opened seasons against, better competition, that we've struggled at different parts of the game. I mean, even that 2015 Virginia Tech game, if you remember, they ended up getting the lead at some point. So
yeah,
it's not a guarantee that it's going to be, we crush this team, but it should be a good game. They've had good recruiting classes, not great. They haven't been Ohio State recruiting classes. No one in the Big Ten has had Ohio State recruiting classes, but they've had good recruiting classes over the last couple of years. So I'm expecting a good game. Those guys, they did not fight for a season just to lay down and get killed in week one. So they're going to be absolutely fighting their hearts out to, get that upset.
Yeah. Actually, I like the start. It'd be a good kind of a good challenge game to open up the year because, and that way, at least it's going to keep them the first 2 weeks. It's going to keep their focus getting ready to come up because you don't have any. Neither one of them are off weeks. I mean, it's not like starting again. If it was starting against Rutgers and then maybe you're playing a Nebraska week 2, I'd get a little nervous because that they're maybe not taking the same type of focus to start the season as they should be, but they are definitely going to be focused. Ryan Day actually said the other day it was one of the best practices he's seen in the last 10 to 20 years on their Friday practice. So they're pumped to get back. And Nebraska's going to be super motivated. I mean, the national media is still cutting on them about how, okay, they get their football back, so they get to go get beat up by Ohio State. And the Big Ten did no favors to them.
No, not at all.
Start the year. I mean, they got Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Penn State either the first 3 weeks or the first 3 out of the 4 weeks. So it's not going to be a picnic for them to start.
Right, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm scared of Nebraska. I'm just saying that they pose a threat to our team, or that they're going to come in ready, and there's going to be some of those opening day hiccups, and they're probably going to have some too. Every team does on that first week, so they're going to have some execution issues also. But I have no doubt that Ohio State's coming into this game ready. There's not going to be like any lack of preparedness. Ohio State's they're entering the season to win the title. I truly believe that team is lasered focused, eyes on the prize, ready to go.
Yeah, that's how I feel. All right, so that takes us into week 2, which will be October 31st. We're at Happy Valley, a whiteout-less crowd because there will be no fans in the stand. So Penn State, week 2, on the road. Thoughts?
Toughest game I think we'll have. I think this game already will decide your East champion. I truly do, and I don't want to disrespect the up north teams, but I truly believe this is your Big Ten East representative is who wins this game. So a lot on the line early in the season. Absolutely. Even if Ohio State were to lose to Penn State, though, I would see Penn State as the team that could still drop 2 more games and Ohio State wouldn't drop anymore. So I'm not necessarily saying that, this would be it anyways, because I don't think Penn State's going to go unblemished, which Ohio State, I think, easily could. Thoughts on the game itself. Sorry, I'm not going off, but thoughts on the game itself. I think Ohio State wins. I think we're the better team than Penn State. I think Penn State's greatest advantage is their home field. I think that's what a lot of teams have. And home field's not going to be home field this year. And I think a lot of people don't remember that or don't think about that, that like, oh, you know, Penn State going there the second week, that's going to be tough, a week 2 game. I don't know how rowdy the Penn State parents get. So yeah. I'm not sure how rowdy the football parents get. I'm sure they're going to want their kids to do well. I'm sure they're going to be excited when they make big plays. Still seems like it's going to be, you know, Micah Parsons less for Penn State. So if they don't have that guy there, you know, that guy gives us problems. So that's a huge miss for them, that if they won't have him. And like I said, I could see this as maybe being the representative of the Big Ten East already in week 2, though, whoever wins that game.
Yeah, I definitely see that too. I think it's a big game for both of them to start off the year. I mean, neither one of them, and there's still going to be some sloppiness probably in there, so it's still going to affect both of them at the same time. But it's kind of good on both sides of it. It's good to have a game that early like that, so you know you're going to be focused going into the early part of the season. You know, I mean, the next stretch of the schedule is kind of the laughers. So, I mean, that's I actually like starting off the season with Nebraska and Penn State back to back, and then doing the laughing games, and then doing the, you know, finishing up with what we finish up with. Penn State, right. I mean, Penn State's always a unique challenge. I mean, yesterday, James Franklin was on Big Noon on Fox, and, you know, they were joking around that Urban gave him some of them because he has some gray hairs in his chin, that Urban gave him some of those gray hairs. And that's what he said. He's like, because they were saying, oh, you have some gray hair now. And he's like, Urban gave me some of those gray hairs. And then Urban's like, well, you gave me some of my gray hairs. So, like,
oh, yeah, there's those 2 games. I'll never forget 17 and 18. Both came down to the wire. And James Franklin, I mean, he definitely had some clock management issues in both of those. So I could definitely see how they both gave each other quite a few gray hairs, because Ohio State won those games. Ohio State had no business winning either one of them, though.
And, you know, last year's game, I mean, outside of playing in the Big Ten title, and then in the, you know, playing Clemson in the national semis, that, you know, that was the hardest game on the schedule with Penn State. And, you know, Ohio State jumped up on them, and Penn State fought back, and that became more of a slugfest game as that game went on. I mean, Ohio State definitely had the better talent on the field, but Penn State has got talent. And, you know, James Franklin, like, recruits at just a little bit of a step below what Ohio State's recruiting at. So, I mean, they got legitimate talent in Happy Valley. So, I mean, it's going to be a game.
Yeah, they always have a pretty decent stable of running backs too. So I'm not, you know, seeing that changing at all this year. I know they had a good haul last year. I think they were all young guys too. So that's definitely going to be something scary. I'm always confident in Ohio State's run defense, though. I think that's where Penn State, you know, would have their advantage against most teams. And that's just usually something that Ohio State isn't ever at a disadvantage of, is, you know, in the run game. So usually Ohio State's run defense can stop great runners. We've seen it time in, time out, whether it be against Penn State running backs, whether it be against Wisconsin running backs. So I have nothing but, you know, faith that Ohio State can do it again, but I know they're super talented in the backfield for Penn State.
Yeah. All right. So then we move into the month of November. And like I said, this stretch is kind of a joke stretch for us. Ohio State should easily be favored in every one of these games by double digits. First one, November 7th, against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. How do you feel?
So
this is a home game, just so everybody knows.
I don't think I really got to say what I feel about this game. I mean, everyone feels the same way about this game. So I was out mowing, though, and I had an interesting thought about this one. And this might be completely bonkers. People might think I'm crazy. And I know there's a lot of what ifs here when it comes to like the Heisman Trophy for Justin Fields, but what would you think, or what would be the downside to Justin Fields possibly not playing in this game? That you would go with one of your other guys? Just there is no sense in risking any sort of injury for a game you're going to win by 30 with your backups. So I was even thinking, you're going against Greg Schiano. I know he doesn't have the personnel that he had at Ohio State or what he had before at Rutgers, but maybe now would be a good time to let Justin kind of sit there and break down what the defense is doing. Just take it in, see what would he have done in situations. So I don't think you're in any fear of losing the game with a second string quarterback. So I don't know if I would even suit him up. I know that's people probably think that's crazy. I know he wants a Heisman, but honestly, I thought about that. Like, why risk it? Because you have so much on the line this year.
Yeah. I get where you're coming at with that. I mean, I think he's playing because it should be an easy stat game for him to at least get some stats in there. Now, I don't want him they start pulling away, which I expect early. I expect Justin Fields to be out of the game quick. I mean, these 4 games here, these are like, hey, Justin needs to be out of the game as quickly as the game's in hand because, right. I mean, you need to be, I want the kid to win the Heisman too, but you got to look at the big picture here. And, he's got plus it helps, both Miller and Stroud that, they, this stretch here, they should get working. And that's kind of with the weirdness of college football that you're always looking to win the game. But then you're also looking to make sure that you're in your best position for the following season. So, if the games are in hand, you got to get your guys in. It takes hits off of Justin, gets them experience. So, I expect Justin Fields. Realistically, if he doesn't have an opportunity to be out of there early in the second quarter, almost, then maybe the game's a little closer. And
something's going wrong.
And they should be at. This isn't even a trap game. This is if this was if this was Indiana in this spot coming off of a Penn State, that maybe makes me a little nervous just because Indiana's given them some challenges in the past years.
Yeah.
But this is Rutgers. They're gonna easily. They should easily dominate this game. And I saw a funny thing today on Twitter about the Rutgers fans saying that how they're projected they're going 5-3. They're going to lose to Ohio State, but that is their new big one because how bad Ohio State's talked down to them.
In what universe does Rutgers win 5 Big Ten games? There are no FCS schools, no group of 5 schools in their schedule. So where are they going to get one Big Ten win?
I don't know.
Let alone the other 4.
I don't think they're going to beat anybody.
No, I think they're going 0-8.
Yeah, I don't know who their crossovers are, but they ain't beating anybody in the East. I can tell you that. Maryland's a better team. Indiana's a better team than them, and they're not beating the Big 4. And this guy said they're going to take Penn State to overtime before losing to Penn State in overtime. I'm like,
they must know something about Penn State that I don't this year because, there's parts of me that I'm scared Penn State's going to take us to overtime. But
I just think it's Sunday drinking on whoever put that out there. So
yeah.
All right, so then we go to November 14th at Maryland. So
this will be nothing like 2018 at Maryland. We're gonna crush this team. Loxley's in there another year. He's had a couple good decent recruiting classes. Is his brother eligible? I wouldn't think he is, but I honestly don't know. I wouldn't think he is, but who knows in COVID-19 2020. But I'm not scared of Maryland at all. I think, just like Rutgers, we're going to run them over.
Yeah. I expect this will be closer to a 2019 version of this game than the 2018 version. I don't think
like 2017 or 16, every other year besides 2018.
Yeah. Again, they're a step better than Rutgers, but last year they got ran over. So I don't expect it to be any different. I think Ohio State. The one thing I liked about last year's team, and I think they will take this into this year, it seemed like those way below, step below games that has been known to give them some heartburn in a couple past years. I mean, those teams don't beat Ohio State. It's not like Iowa and Purdue. But at times they give Ohio State games because Ohio State's just not focused. Well, last year they were focused on all these teams. So
yeah,
like I don't think it's going to be any different this year. It seems like they bring such a business mentality into it that we need to take care of business, and
right. There's been, I mean, last year you didn't see any letdown against worse opposition.
Yeah.
And like you said, you usually see something where they're just maybe not taking it that serious, but last year it was all business, and I expect to see, nothing but the same this year.
Yeah, that's how I feel. All right, so the 21st of November, we're home at Indiana, or not at home against Indiana. This is one of those teams that has at different times have given us some games over the last few years. They have a good program. Ever since Wilson was the coach there, they've had a better football program than you're used to. Should still be an easy win, but just what you think.
Michael Penix, if he's healthy, that gives you a whole bunch of different problems. That opens up a lot of different running, passing things that Indiana can do. So that definitely makes it more difficult, but I don't think he's enough for that to, tip in Indiana's balance or anything like that. I just think that they can play a competitive game. Ultimately, though, they're going to lose by a couple scores because Ohio State's much better than they are everywhere else. And I mean, Justin Fields is better than Michael Penix anyways, but that would be a one that you got to stay, again, as we said, they've been focused on everybody since Ryan Day's been there. So I don't see that changing, but as long as you keep your focus, you get in that game healthy, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Indiana, again, like you said with Penix, he could bring a challenge to them, but it would be a good challenge. It's the type of challenge you're not really, I don't know how much you're really seeing it anywhere else on the schedule. So it'd be a necessary challenge. You like to get you like to play against quarterbacks like that, just to see how, your defense stacks up, because it just adds a whole different level to the game that, it's hard, and as we know from years with Urban here, is that you can't and Justin Fields now. I mean, you can't prepare for that athlete. You can pretend like whoever is on your scout team is that guy. He's not that guy.
Right, they're not that guy exactly
in real life. So will always be a challenge. Again, this is definitely a better team than the previous 2 weeks. And, Indiana has given us some problems. But like I said, I would have been a little bit more concerned if Indiana was right after Penn State. Now we got a couple weeks after Penn State. You're still got a couple weeks before the last two games. So I don't think that they're going to be like just looking ahead anywhere or looking back or resting on their laurels. So I think they should pretty easily win this game.
Yeah, there's not really much to be hung over from or to be looking ahead to. So I think it's something that, like you said, they should be able to, mentally be just as checked in that game as they will be physically.
Yeah. All right. So then we go to the 28th of November, and we are at Illinois. Sometimes can be a difficult spot to play for the Buckeyes. Going all the way back to my memory of 2002, Champaign has sometimes been a little iffy, but we've always beat them in Champaign. The only time that they've beat us in recent memory, it was in Columbus in 2007. But just your thoughts.
Well, I would say I don't like going to Champaign. We've seen a lot of games that we've almost lost. Now, we've played there late in the season, though, so I'm not sure, the week after Thanksgiving is going to be any worse conditions than we've ever played there. But you could see snow. You could see, freezing rain. It's going to be cold there, most likely for our guys. So unless you get some unseasonable, heat stroke that goes through Illinois that week, it's going to be a rough one to play in. I did do some scouting on Illinois, a couple weeks back, or now over a month back when that first schedule came out, just to see what their strengths were. And surprisingly, it seems like they have a really good offensive line, underrated, under radar, or fly under the radar. So if they can get a run game going, that could be kind of scary. But I just said I really never doubt Ohio State in a run game situation. But then that same sentiment, Mike, I mean, Ohio State's lines are going to be better. So even if Illinois has a good line that they're going to be able to run on Ohio State can turn around and do the same thing right back to them. It's just all about scoring points in that. I don't expect it to be a particularly close game, but it's always interesting, playing somewhere that's going to be more, the weather is going to be different. It's going to be a more dramatic weather in that game for Ohio State than what they would normally get in Columbus.
Yeah, it always seems like whenever they go to Champaign, it's always heavy winds. They get rain. A lot of wind through central Illinois. So that's always, I expect that because I've seen it more times than I've not seen it. So I expect that, when we're getting to the part of the season, the weather is going to matter. And this is normally Michigan week, which we know, last year was freezing in Ann Arbor to play the Ohio State Michigan game. So you still got a couple more weeks now. We're playing past this. So I definitely expect the weather is going to play some sort of role. But again, I like where you always are going to, as long as you have a coach that's smart, knows what he's doing, you got a team that's motivated, weather is not going to matter. It's still even in bad weather games, as long as you're the motivated team, the team with the best athletes still win. It adds another element to the game, but Ohio State should have a running game that's going to be second to none pretty much in the conference. Maybe with the comparison to Wisconsin, but and
we don't know that for sure though. There's a lot of unprovens back there.
Yeah, but with season, I like what we got coming back, and with the season starting later now. Teague and Crowley will be healthier than what they were expected to be. So, we could have a full staple of all four running backs now available.
Five. Maya and Williams, too.
He came in. So, all right. So, Illinois, they can always at different times give us tests. But, again.
I've seen it today.
Yeah. Now we're into December. On the week that we should be playing in any normal year, this would be the Big Ten Championship. December 5th, we go up to East Lansing to play Sparty. Your thoughts about that game?
We've seen some games in East Lansing, late in the season. And we've seen some in Columbus too, late in the season, right before Michigan, that the weather sucked. And this is going to be a couple of weeks after that. So it's going to be cold. It's probably going to be miserable. Hopefully you get a dry day, but it's not going to be a warm day. We know that. So it'll be rough. I think it works out in Michigan State's benefit to be later on against us because that gives them more time to gel as a team. But also at that point, they could be so far out of it, that team could have just given up on everything. Yeah. So gives Mel Tucker a lot more time to get this team together. So I'm not scared of them in any way, but it definitely is to their benefit getting us at the end of the season and not 2 hours. And
actually, probably Penn State's the game I'm most nervous about just because of, there's more they're more equal in talent than any other team within the conference. But I think this is the next game I'm really worried about. I don't like playing Michigan State in front of Michigan. I don't. What you just said, if they were playing Michigan State in the Nebraska spot, we boat race Michigan State. It's not even close. Mel Tucker is so far behind the 8 ball right now and getting his team prepared. It's not even funny. A lot of people actually said that was actually the reason why the athletic department was okay for them voting to cancel.
They weren't ready to play.
They're not ready to play. He was late coming in. They had no spring practice. They've had nothing. I have just a crap ton of respect for Mel Tucker.
Sure.
The dude is a great coach, and he's a tough guy. He creates tough teams. This is not going to be, at this point in the season, if as long as he keeps them focused, if they lose a few games early, and what you said could happen, that they could fall apart, but if they don't fall apart, if, they keep on gelling, I mean, this could be a trap game. And, that they could challenge Ohio State, and they could have he's the type of coach he's the type of team that if you get into a bad weather game, that they could create the toughness that could really stand up against Ohio State. I don't think they have the dogs to compete with Ohio State. Right. They're not going to have the depth, but, it's an interesting spot.
They don't have the horses to run with Ohio State for the whole game. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, to what you say though, if you can muck it up like D'Antonio did for years and you get a bad weather game and they just make it sloppy, then yeah, anything can happen. But I mean, what stands out to me is 2015 when, it was a terrible weather game and Michigan State wins with that field goal at the end of the game because we couldn't pull away. Well, if Ohio State, I mean, let's be honest, if Ohio State did what they did all year, if 2015 was strange, but if they handed the ball off to Zeke more in that game, they probably win. If they would have pulled JT at any point in that game, put Cardale in, someone that could throw, open that up a little bit, they probably win that game. Or Cardale could have ran up the middle on Michigan State. So that game, that one always was a head scratcher to me, why we never were like, okay, it's close. Let's just run it with Zeke the rest of this game. And I know he wasn't 100% in there, but
yeah,
I just think it wasn't like it never got away from Ohio State. So I don't know why they got away from themselves in that game. If they would have just stuck to their guns, gave Zeke the ball, let him run 30, 40 times in that game, I think we would have beat Michigan State easily in 2015.
Yeah.
And we got another national title.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So play within yourself. Don't let them muck it up and make you change who you are. And I think you would be fine, even in East Lansing, but it's going to be cold.
Yeah. All right. And then finally finish the season, December 12th. I never played this late into a season before, and we're playing home against the team up north. Your thoughts about the game?
Dead man walking, man. We are going to crush them like we always do. It's going to be a repeat of 2018 and 2019. We are just going to light that team up. So I think Michigan's going 4-4 this year. They lost a lot. They got a tough top end of their schedule. So I think I could see them losing a couple of those first, 4 games, and then they're going to lose to us also. So definitely, 5-3, I think is the best that they can do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with this prediction and everyone make myself look stupid at the end of the year, but it doesn't sound like they're getting Nico Collins back. Now I know they're getting the lineman, Jalen. I know he's opting back in, but then they're replacing the rest of their line. So that was supposed to be their strong suit last year. I mean, they won't have that this year.
Yeah.
And who knows? Is Joe Milton? I mean, with a whole new line in front of him, I understand, physically, that guy's built like Cam Newton, and you think he could do whatever, but is he even going to be there in that game? I mean, you're going to have Wisconsin guys are going to just be teeing off on him probably.
Yeah. And, they got to play, I believe they play Minnesota also. I mean, so they don't got to.
When do they get Penn State?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I want to say it's, I want to say it's right at I think it's at the end of November.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple games in between Penn State and Ohio State for them. I want to say I think it's week 5 or 6. I'll believe you're going to hear the same stuff this year. This is the year Michigan's going to beat them. I mean, until I actually physically see it with my 2 own eyes, I'm never going to pick Ohio State to lose to Michigan. I'm not going to.
Not any time in the near future.
I just think Ohio State's got their numbers so much that, and I heard Bobby Carpenter explain something, and I think it was last year. He said there's 4 aspects of the game. There's, the team that just, it gets developed, the recruiting aspect, the development aspect, just, talent overall, and how much you really want it. And he said Ohio State's right now developed better, the recruiting's better, they want it more, I mean, Ohio State still treats this game like it's a must-win game every year, and you would not expect a team that's won all but 2 games in 2 decades. Basically that's what they want the game as much as the other team. They're the hungrier team. So, and coaching ability is the next thing. So I think Ohio State beats them in coaching. I think they beat them in development. I think they beat them in recruiting, and I think they beat them in just hunger. And Bobby said until Michigan, the only chance Michigan has is they got to overtake them in 2 of those 4 things.
Right.
And it hasn't happened yet. I don't think it's happening this year. So,
well, I mean, they line. I know Michigan has had a couple top 10, top 15 recruiting classes. They line up every year though with a less talented team against Ohio State, vastly. So they're less talented, and that doesn't even mean the same to them anymore. Ohio State, I mean, they want to defeat Michigan. They want to crush Michigan starting before week 1. And Michigan doesn't even seem like those guys get up to that game until the coin toss. So I just don't see where it's going to change. Could Michigan get like a fluke, or could they get a year that, they're doing really well and they beat Ohio State in a close game? Absolutely. Sure. It could happen, but there is not going to be some sustained, this is going to be every other year, or Michigan's going to win 2-3 in a row until there's some real serious culture changes in that school. Yeah. So even if they were to get a win against Ohio State, I would project Ohio State would win the next 4 against them right now, because that's just how much better we are. When you're that much better and the game matters to you, you've seen it for 8 years now. It's a different game. We want to beat them, and we got the tools to do it.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely agree with that. I think Ohio State wins comfortably. Weather could play a part in that game. That's definitely, we've not had a December 12th game ever against Michigan. But, I mean, we know how the day after Thanksgiving weather can be interesting at different times. But, again, Ohio State hasn't affected them. So, against Michigan.
No, I'm not scared about weather in that game. I think we'll be fine.
All right, and then the final week will be the title weekend. We're hoping that they're playing the championship game, and I think they definitely will be in a good position to be playing in the championship game. So we'll see who that is. I think it will be personally, I think it's going to most likely be Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But Minnesota and Nebraska are the next level down for me. I actually think Nebraska is going to improve a lot this year. It's another year in Scott Frost's system. He's a good coach. They're
Adrian Martinez is back.
They're passionate there.
Yeah. Adrian Martinez is no slouch, so never did particularly well against Ohio State. But the kid's highly recruited. He looks like he has the tools to be a good quarterback. So I think I agree. I think Nebraska is going to be much improved this year.
Yeah. All right, I think we'll wrap it up on that. Just wanted to do a quick little show, just break down the schedule, what we like about it. I know there were some little, of course, the whining from up north began again about how our easy schedule. Well, right. They said last week they were going to take it from the pre-COVID-19 schedule, so this was always our schedule. And the second schedule was always that schedule too. They just added a game to it. They added Purdue to it. They took Iowa off of it now. So, I mean, it was either going to be Iowa or Nebraska. We weren't keeping both of them. We were only keeping one of them because Illinois was the road game. That game was staying. And
but, I mean, you're giving Minnesota a lot of credit for 1 year, especially if they don't get Rashad Bateman back. And 2, when you go, you're not playing Iowa, you're not playing Wisconsin, you're not playing Minnesota. Well, guess what? We're going to play them the last week of the season. So, I don't get where they come off like this easy schedule because we don't have that crossover game. We're still playing Nebraska. I mean, we're getting one of the top 4 teams in the West. So I'm sorry that, you get what you feel to be the top 2, but Minnesota's got to do a little bit more for me, sustainability to be considered as high as what the pedestal people are putting them on.
I mean, the last time Minnesota beat Ohio State, Glenn Mason was the head coach. I mean, it was back in it was either 99 or 2000.
That happened.
Yeah, it did.
I don't remember that one.
I think that was like why a lot of people wanted him to replace Cooper, because he did beat Cooper once, and Wisconsin hasn't beat us in a decade, but everybody's still throwing that. I mean, the last time Wisconsin beat us was in 2010. I'd be more scared of Purdue.
It's Purdue, right? If you want to come at me and say you guys aren't playing Purdue this year or not going to Purdue, then yeah, I mean, I'll take that one. I mean, that's the team that's given us the most trouble from over there, followed by Iowa. So yeah, if you want to say those guys, because we're not playing Wisconsin hasn't beat us in 10 years.
Yeah. So, and the difference between Ohio State fans and I think and Michigan fans is they like to whine and complain about it, but I'll trade Rutgers and Maryland right now for Wisconsin and Iowa or Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yeah, I know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love winning games. I love having the better win-loss record, but I hate having Rutgers on our schedule every year. Like, that game is always so boring to me. I can never get excited for it. Like, there's no intrigue to that game. There's nothing exciting about it. You're going to crush that team. So that's one of the hardest games for myself, like, to get pumped up for as a fan, because there's no drama to it. Yeah. There's only one outcome. It's just, is it 30 points? Is it 40 points? Is it 50 points? How bad is it going to be?
You feel like you lost the game when you didn't cover the 40 points. That's, right. I mean, the odds.
Really, that's the only thing. Is Ohio State going to cover the spread today? That's the only thing with the Rutgers game.
And then people act like that's such a big deal. It's like, well, they had a 45-point spread, but they only won by 42. And it's like, well, Ohio State barely gets past.
Or ESPN,
Ohio State loses.
Well, ESPN, they're notorious for this. Ohio State will beat Rutgers by 20, and, Kansas will beat Rutgers by 30, and they take that as Kansas is a better team than Ohio State. I mean, they've done that crap for years. But so the whole thing about the strength of schedule, to me, that's mostly bogus. So I mean, I'm sorry that we're getting Illinois, but we're also traveling there late in the season. It's probably going to be pretty crappy weather. And the people that say, and I know I had said that we had talked on the last podcast that you said that Gene said the whole thing about the eye test, that they're going to have to blow people out. I'm like, well, he wasn't joking. And even though I don't think he's joking, I think people need to relax a little bit on that also. Because everyone's like, oh, with that schedule, Ohio State's not going to make it unless they beat everybody by 40 points. One, they're capable of doing that. Two, I really just think, 3/4 of the game, you really just need to show control of the games. Yeah. That's it. I would say
that's seven of your 9,
even six of your 9 games. So 2/3 of the games. I think if you show reasonable control, not even dominating, just like you constantly have like a 2-possession lead, I think that's enough. They'll get in the playoffs. I honestly, I think about it more and more. I think Ohio State, even if they have 1 loss, I don't see them getting more than 1 loss. But if they're anywhere at that 1-0 loss range, I think they're in the playoffs as long as they have that Big Ten title.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. All right, I think we'll wrap this up now. So it was a fun thing. Just like I said, just wanted to throw it out there. Just get a nice little schedule review because it'll probably still be a couple days until we do our next episode. But so I hope everybody has a good night, good rest of your weekend as we finish up the weekend, heading back up into the work week. I'm Mike.
I'm John. OH.
IO.
Peace.